to our couch with the Bruintons.
Yes. Hopefully you guys have been enjoying the episodes that we've been putting out. We're having a lot of fun recording them, while also not necessarily finding things out, but learning more about each other while we're doing this. So so on to the next episode. This last episode we talked about perspective, but this particular episode we are going to talk about communication. And so we're learning how to communicate a lot better, more so me than her. But
Wow.
yeah. Anyway.
I think I'm pretty good at communication, but I think there's always room for improvement.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I didn't grow up I'm not a big communicator. No. So
you've gotten a lot better.
I'm working at it. But it's a lot of work to communicate effectively and emotionally. That's and I think that's what a lot of I won't say a lot of females, but I think that's what a lot of people are looking for within a relationship. They're looking for an emotional connection, and the only way you're able to get to that point, in my perspective, is to communicate. You don't know how your partner is feeling emotionally or physically until you talk to them. And they probably won't even tell you unless you ask them. So I think that's a big part of communication.
You said effective communication. And I think that's really important because it's not enough just to communicate with your spouse, but is it effective? Are you understanding where they're coming from? Are you understanding their opinions and their side of the story? Are you willing to listen? You know what I mean? Communication is not just about talking, but it's about active listening. So I like the fact that you said effective communication. It sounds familiar, like you got that from somebody.
Not from you.
So another thing that I've learned about communication is speaking to your spouse or your significant other, boyfriend, girlfriend, friends, in the way that they want to be spoken to. So we reference the 5 love languages. And for those who don't know them, they are
physical touch, words of affirmation, acts of services, quality time, and
words.
I thought I said words of affirmation.
Did you? I wasn't listening.
Y'all see that, right? Okay. So
did you say receiving gifts? You said physical touch first.
Okay, physical touch, acts of services, quality time, words of affirmation, receiving gifts.
Yes.
That's one I didn't say.
Which is your second.
You didn't listen anyway, so it don't matter.
So communicating to the other person and their love language. So Brandon's love language is acts of service first. He rated higher in that. And then all the other ones were pretty even. I think receiving gifts was like a close second. And so to show him that I love him or to tell him that I love him, the best way to do that is acts of service. So, making sure that dinner is ready or doing something that needs to be done that he didn't ask me to do, but it just magically gets done. Versus kissing him and PDA and all of that, because that's not how you express love or communicate or anything. Right?
Very true. Very true. And I think it's also imperative that the other person, if like mine is acts of services. However, I can't impose acts of services on her because that's not technically her love language. It might be mine, and that might be a way of how I express it. So her love languages, she actually equaled perfectly in every single one of those. So it's easy to communicate with her. I can literally do anything, and it would work. It works.
Another thing that has been really helpful for us is actually talking through things. So, excuse our dog. talking through things. And so, you know, when we don't necessarily see eye to eye, we're able to now, because it hasn't always been like that, but we're able to now, you know, it might not be in that very moment because, you know, emotions might be a little high or whatever, but we're able to come back and sit down and talk through things. And, you know, Brandon will start with, you know, this is how I saw it, and then I'll come in, this is how I saw it, and then we're able to kind of see it from each other's point of view. I learned at the very beginning of our relationship the way to not communicate with him. And I literally came in, I'm like, listen, da 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 da, all that. And when I tell you, he shut me down in 2.2 seconds and didn't hear a thing that I said. And from that moment on, I never came to him that way again.
Yeah, knowing when to talk through things, but the timing of everything. Timing is everything. If that person is having a bad day and then here you come with some more bad news, prepare to get, just prepare for a whole lot of pushback.
Yeah. I learned early on and that's another thing, you have to be, in your dating stages, you have to be really observant, right? Very. One thing that I peeped is like when Brandon is working, he is super focused and honed in on work. And nothing else matters, and it's like not even intentional. He's just in the zone. And so that is not the time for me to call him and be like, hey, we need to talk about something serious, because I'm not going to have his attention. If I do have his attention, he's going to have an attitude. Like, it's just so many things. So you have to know your partner, know when to talk to them, know how to talk to them, know how they receive information. Because even women, I know we're really good we know the right times that we can talk to our spouse to get those things that we want and how to kind of maneuver that. But that comes with learning your partner. So. Yeah,
absolutely. I will say, even in our dating phases, when we did need to talk about something and we didn't talk about something, you could feel like this tension. Yeah. And I think that's very important. Like when you're finding a partner, if you can feel their frustration without them saying anything, or feel the tension without them saying anything, and you know something is wrong, you got to communicate that and you got to bring it up. And sometimes I think at that point, if it's just one of the, if it kind of goes on a few days later, you know, stuff like that, and y'all still haven't talked about it, but you still feel this tension, yeah, there's something wrong, and there's something y'all need to talk about, whether it's on your end or their end. Something needs to be said, because that tension is only going to lead to other things. It's going to lead to more frustrations, and anything like that. So I think before problems pile up, you got to talk about those things, even if it's something that you don't necessarily deem that it's a big issue or anything like that. It may be a bigger issue to them than it is for you, and they have to talk about it and get it off their chest in order for them to move on. Because if not, it just kind of lingers on, and then eventually it's going to get brought back up later on down the road because it was never talked about in the first place.
So another thing is, somebody is always going to have to be the bigger person. And so there are going to be times when something happens and you think it's their fault and they think it's your fault. And they're not talking to you and you're not talking to them. And so how do you move from that space? And so again, somebody has to be the bigger person. For me, I'll let it go on maybe a day or two. Okay. I think our worst situation that we just really was butting heads was maybe like a week. But finally, it's like, listen, we're not doing this no more. Because it's taxing emotionally.
It really was.
It's hard to be mad all the time.
It really was.
You know, it's difficult not to talk to each other when you're in the same house. And so it was like, listen, we need to talk about this and just kind of sit down and talk about it, even if it's hard things to talk about.
Yeah, and I think one of the reasons why is because I'm a big homebody, and my house is the place of peace.
Our house, babe.
I'm sorry. Our house. Sorry. Our house is.
Still learning.
Our house is a place of peace, man.
Yes.
Like we try to keep it as peaceful as possible. And that goes with us too. It starts with us. If there's no peace in the house, it's because we allowed some other things to, come into the house and disrupt our peace. So even if it's us, that needs to talk about something in order to maintain the peace within the household, yeah, it's gotta happen. It's gotta happen. It's because I just think peace is just so vital to. It's vital to a relationship. Like if you just don't have a peaceful house, you don't have a peaceful relationship. That's what I think. That's again my personal opinion.
Sorry for our dog. He wants to get in. So I mentioned talking about the hard things, and a lot of times we avoid communication because we don't want to talk about those difficult things. And so when you ask someone to be honest with you and forthcoming and to not, withhold anything from you, you have to be ready for all that entails. And so that's being able to hear the stuff that you don't want to hear. And what I learned is when you tell them, no, just be honest, you can talk to me, you can tell me anything, and then they do, and then you get mad and blow up at them and then don't talk to them, that right there shuts that door.
Yeah.
Moving forward.
Yeah.
Because now you've shown that I can't be honest with you. You don't know how to handle it. I can't talk to you. So yeah, being able to, when you say you want someone to be honest with you and communicate with you openly, being able to receive that no matter how it looks. If it's good news, great. If it's not, it might be hard to hear, and your spouse or your partner or whatever, they should be able to understand. I know I just delivered some hard, content or whatever, but I'm still going to be there for them, and I'm allow them some time to deal with it. But it's all in how you do that.
Yeah. Yeah, even to sum all of that up, I think with effective communication comes effective listening too.
Yeah.
You got to be able to listen to what the other people are saying, not just hear it, but you got to be able to listen to it. And listening means to hear it and to understand exactly where they're coming from. And if you're at a point where you can't necessarily see it from their point of view, or you find yourself getting triggered by the things that they're saying, best thing for you to do, or the best thing, is probably to just walk away for a little minute, take a breath, decompress, come back and say, okay, well, this is how I felt. Because people are only going to remember, they're not going to remember what you said. They halfway remember what you said, but they're always going to remember how they made you feel.
Yeah.
And so if I made her feel a certain type of way in an argument, and then she brings it up, I can't get mad at the fact that she brought it up, because that she's expressing how she's feeling or how she felt at the moment. And so you getting mad is just reinventing the cycle all over again. So those are a few things that we...
Can I add one more?
Yeah.
Another thing that just came in my mind is when you're communicate in love. Because when you're talking to someone, especially if they're your whole heart, your husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, mom, dad, you don't want to do anything or say anything that is going to intentionally hurt them. And so you're more thoughtful with your words. You're more thoughtful with your tone. You're more thoughtful with your timing. And you communicate in love, because the goal is not to argue. It's not to, hit below the belt and things like that. It's to have a productive conversation so that you can both be better people, and that you can try to seek understanding and, be on one page. And so if you communicate in love, that kind of softens the blow on some of the things that you might have to discuss, or,
I'll say this. I would love to see these videos 10, 20, 30 years from now. I think a lot of married couples who have going down
Yeah.
this road, I think they're already kind of looking at this video like, oh yeah, just wait,
Oh, yeah,
just wait
yeah.
until it
Yeah.
really hits. And don't get us wrong, like we are.
But no, and they probably are thinking that. But this was before we even got married. Before we even started talking about marriage, we were intentional about our dating. And so we were intentional about being focused on communication because we know it's key to a relationship. And so we studied it. We bought books on it. We practiced it. We went and saw a therapist to talk about it. And so it's not something that we just, communication is easy and no, communication is very, very difficult. But when you're intentional about it, you're focused on it and you work at it. And so I think we do a really good job of working at it. Do we have hard conversations? Absolutely. Are there times when I get emotional and cry? Absolutely. You know what I'm saying? But that's not saying that we're perfect and that we always get it right. It's just saying that we're intentional about trying.
Yeah, and I wanted to bring up another point that she brought up. When she said communicate and love. We have to understand that love is, Bible explains that love is patient, love is kind, love is, it doesn't boast.
It's not envy.
Right, it doesn't envy. But one thing the Bible does not say about any of that is that love does not get angry. Love does not, act out in frustration. Love is all of that. And I think a lot of people tend to mix up the two and just say, oh, because you're angry at me, you don't love me. Because you're yelling at me, you don't love me. And it's like, no, love can be, anger. I don't have to necessarily talk in anger, or things like that. But yeah, love can be painful. Love can piss you off. Love can do a whole lot of things.
Yeah.
And I think that's what you have to realize when you're in a relationship, that love it's a lot of things. It's not just this, this loving, this caring, this, everything is perfect. That's not love. Love is all of that. I mean, even if you think about God is everything, but he will be angry at you in a minute and will sit you down in a minute. I mean, but that doesn't mean he doesn't love you any less.
Right.
So love, love is a lot of things, but yeah.
And with communication, we still get it wrong.
Absolutely.
But the difference is we can come back and say, hold on a second. I should have did that a little bit better. My tone was really wrong and my bad. You know what I'm saying? You're quicker to correct yourself. And I think that's what growth is. It's not about always getting it right.
Yeah.
But it's about being intentional, focusing on it, and being able to identify when you were wrong quicker than the last time. And hopefully each time you're getting better at it.
Yeah, and the other part about that is you got to learn how to forgive really quickly and let go quickly. The sooner you let it go, the better it'll be. You hold on to that stuff, man, and it can eat you up alive.
So earlier this week, I posted on my social media what are some challenges that people have with communication. So we just wanted to go over some of them. Not that we have answers to them, but just to share because I think some of these we can relate to. And I won't say who said what. I'll just say what the challenge was. So the first one is my use of words.
My use of words. Absolutely. When you get into that communication part and you start to get angry at your person and you don't have control over what you're saying, and you're just at that point now you turned on something in your mind that's just like, okay, you know what, I'm getting ready to let loose. This is how I'm gonna let go, and I'm getting ready to hurt this person, and you're gonna use your words. I found out that that's not an effective way to communicate to somebody that you supposedly love. It's not an effective way to talk to somebody because, like, I don't respond to that. If you start cussing me out and all of this stuff, I'm gonna just go ahead and just walk the other way, because you're not gonna cuss at me.
Yeah.
So it's, and not only that, but it's also like different. Like if you start yelling, most people shut down. That's what they do. And to
be very honest, we know those things, those words that tick off the other person.
You know them.
you know what those trigger words are.
Oh yeah.
So don't use them.
We haven't used them. We have not used them. Let me just go ahead and put that out.
You know what
there.
they are. Don't, when you want to communicate effectively, stay away from them. Pick your words very carefully and think about how this conversation is going to impact tomorrow. Mm-hmm. And is this something that we can come back from, right? And so I would just say with your words, just be careful with your words because words have power. And if you don't mean it, don't say it. And there's sometimes when we get so angry that we just...
Yeah, we just let it loose.
To that I would say, be quick to apologize.
If you're going to do it. If you're going to do it.
Be quick to apologize.
Be very quick.
Be quick to say that you were wrong so that you can move forward. Because we know that it's going to happen. You know, you get so angry and so fed up that you just... But be able to be like, you know what? I messed up. I didn't mean to say that. I was really angry. And like Brandon has to step away. He will literally leave because he needs to calm down. So maybe, you know, try that approach. Like if you feel like you're about to say something, because you do that all the time. When you feel like you're about to say something that you don't want to say, you just like,
I'm going to go the other way. Because I never want to come back and just be like, man, Brandon said this. Nah, I don't ever want to be that person. So.
Okay. So the next one, communicating my feelings. I want so bad to speak on things, but I just am quiet. Communicating my feelings. I want so bad to speak on things, but I'm just quiet. So to that, I would say pick your battles, because that's what this kind of sounds like. Every comment doesn't cause for a response. And just kind of pick your battles, because sometimes it's just so small, and it's just like we just have to get the last word, and we just have to be right, so we say something. Don't, you know what I mean? Like Brandon said, it's about peace, and if you can live in peace with somebody, choose peace over chaos,
please do.
And negativity and negative energy and stuff like that. So that's kind of how I read that
one. I think I'm always right. I'll struggle with that one.
Oh. Didn't know if you was going to say that.
Whatever. I struggle with that one. I always think I'm right. That's because majority of the time I am. But but I've been known to be wrong every now and then. And,
he was wrong like 5 times a day.
What are you talking about?
Babe, did you have the raspberry tea before?
I didn't realize. I didn't remember I had a raspberry tea.
Yes, Brandon, you do think you're always right. And so for me, it's just like I've learned to, it makes no sense to go back and forth with him on something that I know is right. Because eventually, it will just reveal itself that I was right. Other day, I asked him, babe, did you bring up the trash can? And what smart comment did you say to me?
Yeah. I said, yeah.
Was it up? No.
Was it up or was it down?
I asked if you brought it up. And you said, yeah. And I was like, okay. I walk outside to walk the dog, and the trash can is still down there by the road. He does that all the time. But I've learned that he's gonna feel crazy when he realizes that trash can was still down there. So yeah. It's okay to be wrong. It's okay to admit that somebody else is right. Hurting someone's feelings. We talked about that.
Yeah, here's the interesting part about that. Mm-hmm. You're always gonna hurt someone's feelings when you're in a relationship, whether it's, and it could be, most of the time it could be unintentional, that you hurt their feelings. But I know, like, there have been times where, if I were to communicate, or if I wanted to communicate something, knowing that it would hurt, her feelings, or she'd feel some type of way about it, I probably wouldn't talk about it. But then later on, I would find out that the same thing that I didn't talk to her about, she found out about it later and was more so hurt that I didn't talk to her about it than her finding out on her own. So there's a rock and a hard. I'm stuck between a rock and a hard place with that one, because sometimes you don't communicate, or you don't say anything because you're too afraid to hurt their feelings in that moment. And I think that can be that can be misleading. You got to talk to them whether it's going to hurt their feelings or not. And I think that can be very hard to do when if you're always considerate about the other people or the other person's feelings. That can be very hard to do. And so with that one, I would probably say that comes with timing. Because there's a certain time that they have to be able to receive information that's probably going to hurt their feelings. If they're already in a bad mood and they've been in a bad mood all week and all this stuff, it's probably not the best time to say something. And I've learned that with her, that I know if she's overwhelmed with work, I'm not going to bring up any other problem that's going on or anything like that. I'm gonna wait and figure out, when it's a good time to bring it up. And then probably even with the conversation, I'd soften the blow a little bit with something like maybe we go to dinner or something like that and I pay for it, or something like that. It's, the little small things that you don't think would help, it actually does help. Yeah. Because it puts their focus on the conversation for a second, but they're only going to remember the good time that they had around that bad situation, and that thing that you do around that could turn that one situation completely around.
And I guess I can say I'm an emotional person.
Yes.
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 I'm an emotional person, and so, but I am also that person who wants for you to communicate with me and tell me the good, the bad, and the ugly. And so again, when I was talking about, when you want that, you have to be able to receive it. And so I try my best to, when we have to have those difficult conversations, to be in a mindset of this is coming out of a place of love. He's not intentionally trying to make me feel bad, so that I can receive it better. When it comes to communicating with him, it's more so, again, understanding how he likes to be communicated with. So Brennan thinks that he's right all the time. So when there's something that I know is wrong, how I approach him is not, you're wrong, or that's wrong. I never do that. Brennan's also a jokester. So I joke about it instead. And so then he's not on the defense. He just thinks we're joking, but he knows that there's truth to what I'm saying. And so it's really, again, about knowing your partner and how to communicate with them, when to communicate with them, and how they like to receive information, and working around that. Cool?
Yep.
Okay. I've learned to be an active listener. Very good. That means to really listen and not always have a solution. You talked about that the other day with me.
Yeah. I talked with Jessica because I had the other day, we were talking about sometimes when you're communicating, it's not always meant to have a solution. Sometimes they're just communicating just to vent, and they just want you to listen. And I think that needs to be something like that needs to be said. If you're just having a conversation just to vent, then I think that needs to be something that's said before the conversation starts. Because if you start a conversation and there's no precursor to saying, okay, well, to the conversation, well, I don't want you to respond, I just need you to listen. If you don't say that before then while you're talking, all you're gonna say, all the other person is gonna think is like, well, okay, does she want me to come up with a solution or what? So be sure if you're just wanting to communicate, to vent, be sure you say that before you start communicating.
Like, I'm coming to you, I need, I just want to talk this out. I don't need for you to have a solution for me, but this is what's going on.
Yeah.
And just vent. Okay, a few more, because we spend a lot of time on communication, which is good because it's important, but don't want to lose you guys. So using you instead of I, deflecting blame, letting my emotions dictate my response. Yeah. So I learned when we went to our therapist, we did exercises where you're communicating to your partner and you have to use I or me instead of you did this is how I felt about the action. And that way, when you don't use words like you and place blame, the person is less defensive, is what I learned about that. And then letting my emotions dictate my response. If you are angry to the umpteenth, it's probably not the right time for you to have a conversation.
Yeah, it's not.
Right? And so just listen to your emotions so that you can have, because you also want to have productive conversations as well.
Yep.
Other people understanding that the receiver of written communications determines their emotions from the message, not the sender. So basically, you don't determine how that person receives your message. The person who is receiving the message tells you how they feel, right? And so, again, when you are communicating and you have the other person in mind, that's how you kind of navigate around that. Because you don't say, okay, I'm sending this message and this is how you're going to feel about it. You're going to get the message and you're going to feel how you feel, right? And so perspective, perception, sometimes it doesn't matter what is said or how it is said. It only matters how the other person received it. So we talked about that. And then sometimes trying to be understood without trying to understand. We talked about listening, active listening. And then lack of ownership and holding grudges for ill feelings I didn't even know that I existed.
Lack of ownership. Yeah, a lack of ownership. That's big. That's big. Owning up to your own mess. Being honest with yourself. Oh, that is golden. That is golden. You have to be so honest with yourself. If you messed up, you messed up.
Yeah.
That's just what it is. You're messed up. You're human. We're all going to mess up at some point in time in life. We're going to mess up something, whether it's in a relationship or you single or by yourself or you with friends or whatever. You're going to mess up. But being able to own it and being honest with yourself, that's where growth and maturity is. Yeah. I think that's where it is. So
this was a great discussion.
Yeah.
If you cannot tell, communication is very, very important to us. It's one of the things that we, I think that helped us get to where we are. Just being able to talk to each other. And it's not always easy, but we do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's our piece on communication. We're working to be better at communication, and it's only going to get tougher over the years for us. As again, we're just starting out. Yeah. We're a month into this marriage, and we're looking forward to many, many more years. But y'all pray for us.
Did you say that as you rolled your eyes?
I mean,
many more years.
I mean, hey, listen. We said forever to death do us part. So
we want to thank you for your support. We want to thank you for subscribing, and if you can, share this video and leave comments. And let us know any other questions that you have about communication. If you agreed with something that we said or you disagreed, let us know. And until the next time, we'll see you back on our couch for episode.
Yeah, you got it. I got you. Good job.
Bye.
All right, take it easy.